I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel and like this video. My goal is to reach the first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you and enjoy. Before I start, here's why this story matters. Most people don't lose a marriage in one big explosion. They lose it in a slow drip of disrespect, a new tone, a hidden phone, a partner who treats your questions like a crime. The practical focus here is simple: how to spot the early signals, how to set boundaries without shouting, and how to protect your time, your peace, and your resources when someone wants the benefits of a relationship without the accountability. No speeches, no begging, just calm decisions that change the rules, force reality into the open, and stop you from financing somebody else's double life. The morning it snapped into focus, Lauren didn't wake me with "good morning." She woke me with a laundry basket. It hit the bedroom doorway like a bowling ball. Socks spilled onto the floor. She stood there in leggings and that tight little expression she'd been wearing for months, like everything I did was a personal insult. She yanked my hoodie off the chair and held it up like evidence in a trial. "Why is this here again?" I rolled over, checked the clock, and stared at her like she'd just handed me a parking ticket in my own house. "Because chairs are known for their hoodie storage features," I replied, voice flat. "Modern furniture." Big breakthrough. Her eyes didn't soften. No smirk. No warmth. Just that blade of a tone. "Not funny." She dropped the hoodie on my chest. "Start a load. And stop leaving your mug in the sink. I'm not your mom." I sat up slowly, not because I was intimidated, but because I wanted to see her face clearly. 10 years married, Cedar Grove quiet street, 2 cars in the driveway, a dog that thought every mail truck was a war crime. And here she was talking to me like I was a teenage intern. "I thought you were my wife," I said. "Not my supervisor." She didn't even look at me. Her eyes went straight to her phone. Screen angled away. A smile popped onto her face. Quick, private, real. Then she caught me watching, and that smile died like a light switch. She turned the phone even farther, like my eyesight was the problem. That was the moment. Not a feeling. Not a hunch. A behavior. Warmth existed in her. It just wasn't pointed at me. In the kitchen, she moved around like I was an obstacle she had to step around. Coffee brewed. Toast popped. She didn't ask if I wanted anything. She put a plate down and said thanks to the countertop when it didn't wobble. I took a sip of coffee and let it sit there between us. "So," I started casual, "you working late again tonight?" She shrugged without looking up from her screen. "Maybe. Depends." "On what?" "On stuff." "On who?" That got her attention. She gave me a look like I'd tracked mud onto a white carpet. "Mark, please don't do this. You're being paranoid." There it was. The new move. Not answering. Labeling. I leaned back in my chair. "So a normal question is doing this now." She stood, leaned in, and kissed the top of my head. It was the kind of kiss you give a kid before you drop them off at school. Sterile. Automatic. Then she grabbed her keys. "I'll text you," she said, already halfway out. "Try not to make a mess." The door clicked. Her car backed out, and I sat there staring at my mug like it had answers. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have stopped trying to be reasonable a lot sooner. That afternoon at the plant, I kept my voice steady and my hands busy. That's my job: production crews, schedules, safety meetings, people who need direction. I'm not built for emotional chaos. I'm built for systems. My lead, Rico, caught me by the break room, wiping his hands on a rag. "You look like you slept in your truck," he said. "You good?" I shrugged. "Home's loud. Not with sound. With attitude." Rico snorted. "Attitude's like rust. Gets on everything." "Yeah," I said. "I'm not letting it spread." He studied me a second. "Rico's the kind of guy who doesn't talk unless he means it. Don't let anyone make you beg for basic respect," he said. Then he walked off like he hadn't just dropped a brick of truth on my boots. That night, I didn't wait up. At 9:30, I took the remote, turned the living room lights off, and went to the front door. I changed the keypad code. I'd installed that lock years ago for convenience. Now it was a boundary. At 9:45, my phone buzzed. "Lauren, running late. Don't be weird." I stared at it, then typed back. "Me, door locks at 10. If you're not home, you text a time by 9:55. If you don't, you sleep elsewhere." Simple. A minute later, the bubbles showed up, then stopped, then showed again. "Lauren, are you serious? You can't control me." "Me, I'm not controlling you. I'm controlling my house at night." "Lauren, wow. Jealous much?" "Me, tired much." At 10 o'clock on the dot, I locked the door. not in anger, in rhythm, like turning off a machine at the end of a shift. She came in at 12:18, pounding the keypad like it had personally offended her. Then she called me. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Same. In the morning, she blew into the kitchen with that fake energy people use when they want to start a fight before coffee. You really locked me out, she said. I cracked an egg into a pan. Yes. You know that's controlling. I flipped the egg. You know what's controlling? Disappearing and expecting the house to stay open like a hotel. She crossed her arms. I work. So do I. And I don't come home at midnight with stuff and depends. Her mouth tightened. You're impossible lately. I looked her up and down, calm as a stone. No, I'm just not confused anymore. That's when she switched tactics. The temperature changed. Okay, she said softer. I've been stressed. I'm sorry for being sharp. An apology. Light and careful. First illusion. She stepped closer and touched my arm. Let me bring dinner tonight. My treat. I'll be home early. I watched her face. The apology was real enough to sound good, but it floated above the missing details like a balloon with no string. Bring dinner, I said, and be home by 9. Text me if anything changes. She nodded too fast. Fine. At 8:40, I got a picture of a takeout bag on a passenger seat. No restaurant name. No location. Lauren, almost done. Love you. At 9:15, nothing. At 9:50, I got a text. Lauren, running late. Meeting went long. Don't start. At 10 o'clock, the door locked. At 12:06, she showed up, keys jangling, face already set for combat. She stepped inside and tossed the bag on the counter. Food cold. Her tone hot. You happy? She snapped. You proved your point. I opened the bag, peeked in, then closed it. My point is I'm not waiting on someone who treats me like an inconvenience, I said. Tomorrow, I'm changing my schedule. Weekends too. She blinked. What does that mean? It means my Saturdays aren't for sitting around hoping you show up in a good mood, I answered. I've got a fishing trip with my buddy Nate. You can do your stuff without an audience. Her laugh was sharp. So now you're punishing me. I tilted my head. No, I'm separating my life from your chaos. Big difference. The next weekend, I made sure the separation wasn't just talk. Nate lives 10 minutes away in a little cul-de-sac where everybody knows everybody's business. He's a contractor, always dusty, always amused. When I pulled into his driveway, he was already loading his cooler. You look too calm, he said. That's either therapy or war. Neither, I told him. Just making decisions. We went out on the water with 2 other guys. No drama. No text bubbles. Just grown men talking about work, kids, house repairs. Peace feels weird when you've been living next to a storm. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Lauren, miss you. Can we do brunch tomorrow? I found that place you like. I stared at the message. Too sweet. Too timed. Second half of the first illusion, trying to reel me back with comfort. Nate glanced over. Her. Yeah. He snorted. She wants the husband package back online. I typed a simple reply. Me. I'm busy tomorrow. You can send me your schedule for the next 2 weeks tonight. A minute later. Lauren, why would I do that? Me. Because grown adults don't live on depends. Lauren, you're being ridiculous. Normal couples don't run calendars by approval. Me. Normal couples don't hide their lives from each other. No response after that. Just silence. That Monday, I didn't confront. I didn't plead. I hired clarity. Dan was a retired cop who now did private work. Nate knew him through a neighbor dispute that got ugly. Dan showed up at a diner near the highway. Gray hair, calm eyes, hands that didn't fidget. He slid into the booth and looked at me like I was a guy ordering tools, not drama. You want to know where your wife goes? He said. I want facts, I corrected. Not opinions. I don't want messages. I don't want screenshots. I want times and places. Dan nodded. That's smart. People drown in details. You only need the map. I pushed an envelope across the table. Lauren's car info, her routines, her work address. Dan tapped it. 2 weeks. You'll get a timeline. Keep it quiet, I added. He gave me a small smile. I made a career out of quiet. While Dan worked, Lauren tried a new angle, public disrespect. A week later, my company had a small cookout in the parking lot. Nothing fancy. Just burgers, plastic tables, people talking shop. I'd invited Lauren because, for 10 years, we showed up for each other. She arrived late, dressed like she was going somewhere else, phone glued to her hand. Rico spotted her and murmured, "She looks like she hates the room." Lauren walked up, kissed my cheek like she was stamping paper, and immediately started scanning the crowd. I said, "Glad you made it." "Yeah," she replied, eyes still drifting. "I had a million things." Rico leaned in and offered his hand. "I'm Rico. Mark keeps this place running." Lauren shook his hand with 2 fingers, like he was damp. "That's cute," she said. "So you're his babysitter." Rico's face didn't move, but his eyes cut to me like a question. I didn't let it hang. "Lauren," I said, voice even, "talk to my people with respect." She blinked like I'd insulted her. "Oh my God, relax." "I'm joking." "No," I replied. "You're testing what you can get away with in front of witnesses." Silence hit the table. Nate, who'd come by, raised his eyebrows like, "Well, there it is." Lauren forced a laugh. "Listen to him. Mr. Sensitive." I turned slightly, so she understood the line was real. "If you want to stay," I said, "you act like my wife. If you want to act single, go be single. Just don't do it on my time." Her smile froze. She stared at me like she'd never seen me in control. "Fine," she snapped. "I'll just not talk." "Perfect," I answered. "Less damage." She walked away, phone already up, thumbs moving fast. Rico exhaled. "Man," he muttered, "that's cold." "Yeah," I said, "and I'm done warming it up." That night, the second illusion arrived like a movie scene. I walked into the kitchen and found a sticky note on the coffee maker with a little heart. "Miss you. Proud of you. Let's reset." There was a small pie on the counter. A fresh one, not from a store bag. Then Lauren stepped out in one of my old shirts, hair down, soft voice. "Can we just be okay tonight?" I didn't move toward her. I didn't back away either. I just stood there, reading the room like I read production charts. "What changed?" I asked. She stepped closer, hands on my chest, trying to press a mood onto me. "I've been stupid," she said. "I've been distant." "I'm sorry." I held her gaze. "Show me your calendar." "Last 2 weeks. Just show me where you've been." Her hand stopped. "Why?" she asked, too sharp for the moment she was selling. "Because that's reality," I said. "You want reset? Great. Reset starts with transparency." Her face tightened again. The sweetness evaporated. "You're unbelievable," she snapped. "You want to audit me." "I want to trust you," I corrected. "But trust doesn't live in a locked screen and a missing timeline." She stepped back like I'd pushed her. "You're making it impossible for me to fix anything." I nodded once. "No, you're refusing to fix the one thing that matters." She grabbed her phone and stormed upstairs. And I stood there looking at a pie that suddenly felt like a prop. 2 days later, Dan texted me. "Meet tomorrow. Bring a folder." He didn't sound dramatic. That was the point. We met in the same diner. Dan slid a manila envelope across the booth like it weighed nothing. Inside were printed photos and a clean timeline. Dates, times, locations. Lauren's car at a parking lot by the waterfront. Lauren walking next to a man. Her hand on his arm. Them entering a house that wasn't ours. Leaving together. Again and again. The man wasn't a mystery. Dan had a name and an address. Married. Kids. Local. Cedar Grove isn't big enough for secrets to stay abstract. I didn't stare at the photos like a broken man. I stared like a guy confirming a schedule conflict that's been wrecking the whole week. Dan watched me. "You okay?" "I'm clear," I said. "That's better than okay." He nodded. "What's next?" "I'm not playing detective at home," I replied. "I'm going to the other adult who deserves reality." That adult was Haley. I found her online, sent a short message with zero drama. "I have information you need." "Public place." "Daytime." She answered within an hour. We met at a park near the elementary school. Afternoon sun. Kids yelling on a playground. The most normal backdrop possible for a very not normal conversation. Haley showed up wearing a baseball cap and a stiff posture, like she'd prepared to be lied to. She sat on the bench across from me. "You're Mark." "Yes." Her eyes narrowed. "Why are we here?" I slid a folder across. "Copies, not originals." "Photos, timeline." "I'm not here to argue," I said. "I'm here to give you facts and let you decide what to do with them." She opened the folder and went still. Not crying, not screaming, just the kind of quiet that tells you the world shifted. After a long minute, she closed it carefully. "Thank you," she said, voice controlled. "I hate that I'm saying that, but thank you." I nodded. "Same." She looked at me, sharp now. "What are you doing?" "I'm handling logistics," I answered. "I'm not going to fight for someone who's already living like she doesn't have a partner." Haley let out a slow breath. Good, because I'm not doing a messy scene either. We sat there like two grown adults in the middle of a life reroute. Haley said, we should sync. If we move at different times, they'll twist it. I already started, I replied. Accounts, access, the basics. Her eyes flicked up. You're moving fast. I gave her a thin smile. I manage production crews. When a line is broken, you don't stare at it. You shut it down and reroute. She almost laughed, then didn't. I have an attorney consult tomorrow, she said. Same, I replied. No drama, just clean steps. Before we left, Haley added, if you ever feel like backing down, don't. People like this count on hesitation. I looked at the playground where a kid tripped, got up, and kept running. I don't back down from disrespect, I said. Not anymore. That night I didn't announce anything. I executed. New account opened. Payroll redirected. Joint cards canceled. Passwords changed. I wrote one calm email to Lauren. Which bills I would keep paying through the month, which were now her responsibility, and the date those changes took effect. No threats. No insults. Just reality in bullet points. When Lauren noticed, it was immediate. She burst into the living room, waving her phone like a weapon. What did you do? She demanded. My card declined. I didn't look up from the kitchen table where I was sorting papers. It's not your card. It was a joint card. Past tense. You can't do that. I glanced up. Watch me. Her face twisted. So you're punishing me now. I leaned back. No. I'm stopping funding for someone who lives like they don't have a partner. She jabbed a finger toward me. You're trying to trap me. You're trying to control me. I smiled, small and tired. Lauren, you've been calling me paranoid for months. Now I change a few numbers, and suddenly you're very interested in details. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then threw out the only thing she had left. You're impossible, she snapped. I nodded. Good. Be impossible proof and honest. Start with your calendar. She stared at me like I'd spoken a different language. Then she turned and stormed out. 2 nights later, she came home early. Real early. She walked in with a warm bag of food and that practiced softness again. Hey, she said, like we'd just had a cute misunderstanding. I got dinner. Can we sit? I didn't move. Sure. Sit. We sat at the kitchen table. She opened containers, pushed one toward me. I miss us, she said. I've been thinking. I want to fix this. I nodded once. Show me your schedule. Last 2 weeks. Her jaw tightened. Again with that. Yes, I answered. Again with reality. She leaned forward, voice sweeter. Why can't you just trust me? I held her gaze. Because trust requires cooperation. You've been giving me labels and silence. Her eyes flashed. You're not my dad. I gave her a calm look. And you're not my boss. Yet you've been talking like one. She slapped the table lightly. So what? You want me to beg? Is that what this is? I shook my head. I don't want your begging. I want your transparency. She pushed back from the table. You're never satisfied. You want to monitor me like I'm a criminal. I stood up, collected the empty containers, and put them back in the bag. No theatrics. Just closing the performance. Dinner's over, I said. If you're serious, you'll bring the calendar tomorrow. If you're not, don't bring food. Bring a plan for where you're sleeping. Her face went red. You're insane. I pointed to the locked keypad on the wall. 10 o'clock is still 10 o'clock. She grabbed her bag and stormed upstairs, leaving her own dinner behind like a tantrum. I didn't follow. I didn't call. I texted Haley one line. Me. She's escalating. I'm filing the paperwork tomorrow. Be ready. Haley replied, already ready. The next day, Haley and I met at a small office building where my attorney kept things simple. Signatures, documents, steps. No shouting. No show. Afterward, Haley said, I need to grab a few things from my place. Can you drive me? I don't want to be alone if he's there. Yeah, I replied. And then we'll swing by my house. I have more copies for you. We pulled into my driveway just after 4. My garage door was closed. My blinds were half open. The house looked normal, which is always funny right before it isn't. Haley stepped out of the car and adjusted her bag strap. You sure you're ready for this? I've been ready for months, I said. I just didn't have the map. We walked in, and there they were. Lauren on the living room couch, legs tucked under her, like she owned comfort. And next to her was the man from the photos. Shoes off, relaxed. In my house. He looked up first and gave a little smirk, like the situation was a joke and I was the punchline. Lauren's eyes widened for a split second, then hardened into that same superior look she'd been practicing on me in the kitchen. "Well," she said, loud and sharp, "this is awkward." Haley made a sound, small, controlled. Not a scream. More like someone confirming a number they didn't want to see. She pulled out her phone and took a picture. 1, 2, 3. Calm hands. Adult hands. The man's smirk died immediately. Lauren snapped. "Are you serious? Put that away." Haley's voice was ice. "No." I set my folder on the coffee table like I was setting down the final piece of a project. Lauren looked at it, then looked at me. "So this is what you've been doing?" "Scheming." I shrugged. "Planning." The man finally spoke, trying to sound confident. "Mark, man, we can talk." I cut him off with a raised hand. "No, you're done here." He blinked. "Excuse me." "You're in my house," I said. "Shoes off like your family." "You're not. You leave now." Lauren jumped in fast. "Don't you dare talk to him like that." I looked at her. "Lauren, you brought him here. You made that choice. Now you get the consequences." She stood up, chin lifted. "You can't just kick me out. This is my home too." I nodded slowly. "It was. Now it's a place you're moving through." Haley spoke without looking at Lauren. "Same," she said, staring at the man. "You're done." The man stood, trying to recover his posture. "This is getting blown out of." I stepped slightly closer, not threatening, just certain. "You leave now. If you want to talk to someone, talk to your own front door on the way out." He hesitated. Lauren's eyes begged him to hold the line. He didn't. He grabbed his shoes, fumbled them on, and walked past us without another word. When the door closed, Lauren's bravado tried to stay standing, but it wobbled. She crossed her arms. "So what? You're going to throw away 10 years because you're insecure?" I almost laughed. "Insecure? Lauren, you moved a whole second life into my living room. That's not insecurity. That's disrespect with furniture." Her face tightened. "We were just talking." Haley finally looked at Lauren. "On his couch," she said. "With your shoes off. Save it." Lauren's eyes flicked to Haley, then to me. "So you two are teaming up now." I opened my folder and pulled out a single page with a pen clipped to it. "This is simple," I said. "You have two options for format, not for outcome. You sign tomorrow morning at the office, or you sign now at this table." She scoffed. "I'm not signing anything." I nodded. "Then you'll receive it anyway, and you'll be responsible for your own expenses starting now." That email I sent, it's already active. Her eyes widened. "You can't do that." I tilted my head. "Card declined, remember?" She took a step toward me, softer now, voice trying to melt the room. "Mark, come on." I was confused. I was overwhelmed. I didn't want to lose you. I looked at her calm. "You didn't want to lose the house, or the budget, or the status. You've been living like you're single and married at the same time." Her eyes flashed. "That's not fair." I held up the pen. "Fair has nothing to do with it. Reality does." She tried again, stepping close like she could pull the old version of me out of storage. "Let's just talk," she pleaded. "Let's go to dinner. We can reset." I shook my head once. "You already tried reset. With pie. With notes. With food. And every time I asked for one thing, your timeline, you got angry." Haley slipped the folder back into her bag and stood beside me like a quiet wall. Lauren's voice rose. "You're doing this to hurt me." I didn't flinch. "No. I'm doing this so you can't hurt me anymore." I gestured toward the entryway. "Here's the rule. You take what you can carry in one trip tonight. Clothes, essentials. Everything else goes to the garage. You can arrange pickup later. And the lock code changes again in an hour." Her face went pale. "You can't." I cut her off calmly. "You can. You just didn't think I would." She stood there, breathing fast, looking for an angle, a crack, a guilt button. Nothing. Finally she hissed. "You think you're so tough." I met her eyes. "No. I think I'm done." That was my final sentence to her as my wife. Lauren grabbed a bag, stomped upstairs, and started throwing clothes into it like she was punishing the closet. 10 minutes later, she came down with a stuffed tote and a face full of hate. At the door, she turned back like she couldn't help herself. "You'll regret this," she spat. I held the door open and gave her a small, dry smile. "I regret wasting mornings on sock lectures," I said. This is overdue." She walked out. I changed the code. I locked the door. And I didn't feel empty. I felt quiet. A few months later, my life didn't collapse. It simplified. I moved into a smaller place not far from the water. Clean. Calm. I bought a truck I actually liked without having to explain the payment to someone who treated me like a resource. I got back into the gym on my own schedule. I spent weekends with Nate and Rico and people who didn't take shots at me for sport. Eventually, I met someone new, Dana, through a mutual friend at a community event. She didn't test me. She didn't talk down to me. When she asked a question, it was because she cared about the answer, not because she wanted leverage. Lauren? Last I heard, she bounced between temporary places and long explanations. When comfort is your main goal, losing access to comfort hits hard. And when your whole strategy depends on calling someone paranoid, reality is a terrible enemy. I didn't win a war. I ended a bad deal. And my house stayed quiet on purpose. Now, if you want the real takeaway, it's not about drama. It's about decisions. First lesson. The early signal is almost always tone plus secrecy. The socks weren't the issue. The issue was her speaking to me like I was beneath her, then turning warm only for a hidden screen. If you ignore that pattern, you train yourself to accept disrespect as normal stress. Second lesson. Boundaries don't work if they're emotional. They work when they're logistical. The lock at 10, the schedule change, reclaiming weekends, separating resources, those weren't punishments. Those were adult rules that protected my sleep, my time, and my money. The moment I stopped waiting, her control started slipping. Third lesson, don't drown in details. I didn't chase messages or beg for confessions. I got a timeline. I gave the other spouse the truth, and I moved with a plan. The mistake would have been endless arguing, trying to win a debate with someone who refuses to answer basic questions. Another mistake would have been trading respect for temporary peace, letting a pie and a sweet note buy back access without transparency. Respect is more valuable than the comfort of pretending. When someone wants the benefits of being married while living like they're not, your job isn't to perform patience. Your job is to protect your life, change the rules, and walk away with your dignity intact. That's the end of the story. And since you're here, you must have enjoyed it. Why not subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos? Thanks, and have a nice day.